Hi, this is Black Krishna, or BK, for manfowars.com, where I'm promoting polite patriotism to help nice ladies and gents look, talk, and feel great and teach kids to, plus to help us locally discuss and share great online info offline as better people making better people and places to live. So a lot of online convo going on. We're encouraged to have a lot of talking and typing to strangers. But then locally, what's going on? How do pissed off patriots reach confused civilians? How do we get them to be more informed and empowered and put in better politicians to give us better policies and better places to live, as opposed to accepting, I'm going to cut taxes for the middle class and, just generic stuff. We need to fund education. There's a bigger picture than that, right? And the independent media does a great job, but the local offline info war is key, where you got meetings, local meetings with patriots, you build relationships, and you got meet and greet tables where you hang out, you distribute posters, flyers, DVDs, you're cool with each other, you're cool with other people, bitching and screaming idiots or protesters and so on, look bad and worse next to you like Antifa, and the media can't spin how you feel, you just hand them a little piece of paper and that helps, right? So, something as big as this, don't get shot. During the vaccine pandemic, H1N1 bird flu scare, pass these out, or something as small as this. If we don't know, we got problems. If we do, we have solutions. And if they want to discuss, fine. If they just want to take it, put it in their pocket and look at it later, great. And so on and so forth. And you can make them longer. You can make them shorter. You can make them advertisements for local films. And you can leave them places. Besides the meet and greet tables, you can leave them on car windshields, you can drop them in mailboxes, businesses, and so on. And if you calmly and consistently share how you feel, then there's a chance everyone there will know and possibly consider it. And as I said to people myself in doing this with a group called Toronto Truth Seekers a few years ago, hey, if it's smart, enjoy. If it's stupid, throw it out. Can patriots beat junk mail? Sure. I'm sure they can, right? I'm sure that patriots can beat, this Subway sandwich junk mail I got in the mail. I'm possibly sure they can beat this Tim Hortons, although there's some really good deals here, so maybe not. Can beat this junk mail as well. You can get creative with it, with like 9/11 truth dollars, websites, info on them, and on and on and on, and of course DVDs and so on. So there are ways to beat this, as opposed to just sort of like-minded people talking to each other, whether they're red-pilled patriots or conservatives, or whether they're leftists, liberals, Antifa supporters, or people that are going to be herded into that mentality by the media. So that's really, really key. And men, you're going to make sure you're cool, others are, where you are and where you live is, or you'll make sure no one is, because as you fall apart, you take everyone with them, and as you're impotent while a bunch of crap goes on, you become a piece of crap, and other people have to be a piece of crap, because what else are they going to do with you? And then everyone's crap, right? And I've got lots of evidence of this at manfowars.com. But this video is called, and this is related, Man Fights With and Drags Woman from Subway. How can men locally stop this? And I'm going to go through this article from Breitbart News, which goes through the story, and from there I'll get into more of how men can stop this and what the problems are right now. So here is Breitbart.com, one of my favorite news websites, great politics and pop culture source. As late great Andrew Breitbart said, politics is downstream from culture, so when the culture changes, then they put in laws that reinforce that, and that say, make it impossible or very, very hard to change things later. So, for example, they change culture, then they pass hate speech laws, then you can't talk about all the things you hate, then you're stuck with them, right? So, so Breitbart's a great news site for that, and it's a fun read. So here from Breitbart.com, video: Man allegedly fights, drags woman from Bronx subway train. It says allegedly. I mean, unless this was staged and it was, some sort of thing for a movie or some sort of stunt, then it was probably real. But there is the article from Breitbart.com. There's the video. And it is by Amy Furr from January 3rd, 2020. There you go. What I'll do to start off is I'll play the video. It's quite shocking, from the New York Post reposting it. and then I'll get into the article and get into my comments on what men can locally do to make this a crazy thing that almost never or never happens where you live, as opposed to more depressing news, more and more of this crap. Oh, this place sucks. Just shut up, make your money, try and have some fun and be distracted by fun things when you're not miserable by the fact that your place is turning into crap, right? So here is the video from the New York Post. And I'll post a link to this article below so you can check that out in more clear detail for yourself if you'd like. But the article reads by Amy Furr from Breitbart.com. Disturbing video footage of a fight between a man and a woman on a New York City subway train surfaced online Thursday. The video, initially shared by a Twitter user whose account has since been locked, showed a man roughly pushing a woman into a seat on the Bronx 6 train. It didn't seem like they knew each other. I know in terms of relationships, domestic disputes, it can be a little tricky about when to intervene. Certainly when it gets physical, it's obviously a good place to step in, like that. But these two didn't seem to be saying anything to each other. This seemed to be, a guy that, whatever, got into something with this girl, probably because we're not acting like nice ladies and gentlemen anymore. And he might have been forward with her, and she might have rejected him, and he might have got insulted. And, these days, acting like a bitch and making more bitches who make more bitches who make more bitches, partly thanks to professional lying bitches in the media who bitch about this and that and make us all bitch till we're sick of hearing it, and then we act like bitches and then we're sick of seeing it, and then we have to force each other to put up with it. I've seen, guys these days, especially with the fact that they're girl-washed, gay-washed, trans-washed, everything but guy-washed, so they can't be good at being men and can't be good at being girls either because they're not taking that seriously. They're acting like bitching is tough. They're acting like it's tough. There'll be a guy who gets his sandwich, shawarma or something, and it's like, there's not enough onions on my shawarma. Fuck! Piss me off. And they act like that's tough, right? It's tough to be a mess and to be messed up by the fact that you didn't have, you didn't get enough tomatoes on your sandwich or whatever the hell it is, as opposed to being cool about it, going back and getting some more, or not seeing it as that big a deal, right? Relatively speaking. Making a big stink like that in public is actually something that guys think is tough, right? You just, what? I'm all messed up. I'm all messed up. So they can bully people into putting up with them being bitchy because they're bigger, stronger, more threatening, and so on. But that's not tough. That's weak, right? For example, if you saw a cop or a soldier or somebody who's in a position of authority and power who you're generally supposed to respect, they're not all perfect either, but who you're generally supposed to respect, acting like that, you'd be scared out of your friggin' mind, right? Or anybody in a position of authority or responsibility, or any man that you're supposed to respect. And so that's part of the brainwashing out there that we got to beat. We got to get that through our coconuts and get that through our homeboys' coconuts to make sure that we can deal with this crap. And I'll get into more of that in a second. But back to the article. So it says here, he then pulled her onto the floor as she continued to hit and kick him, then turned and walked away. A few seconds later, she got up and kept fighting with him. Now, and this is part of the empowering of girls, which I'm not against. I just think that men should be a part of it as opposed to it being a competition. And I don't think that men should be empowered or that girls should be empowered to think they're like men, because that's crazy. Naturally, men have more testosterone, are bigger and stronger, much more upper body strength. Leg strength's kind of parallel, but men have way more upper body strength. For example, I read an article where the strongest woman in the world could bench press like 175 pounds. Now, me, when I'm in shape, in decent shape, I can bench press 175 pounds, and I am nowhere close to being the strongest man in the world as an average height, average weight, 5'10", 165-pound guy, right? But if the strongest woman in the world can bench press 175 pounds and an average man can bench press 175 pounds, then that's crazy, right? So it shows you the difference. However, with the brainwashing out there, where you've got movies, action movies, where you've got, 5 foot tall, 90-pound girls welding giant broadswords against 6'5", 250-pound men and kicking their ass in the movies and other stuff, and girls getting more physical, encouraged to act more like men, and men encouraged to act more like women, which, unless they take it seriously, just makes them miserable bitches. This guy could have started something with this girl, and this girl could, he could have started something with her, and then she could have fought him off a little bit, and then, as you see in the video, she gets back into his face and starts trying to throw punches at him, and this is just an average guy. This guy looks to be about, 5'10", 6 feet tall. The girl wasn't tiny. She looked to be about 5'6", 5'7", 120 pounds. He was maybe, 5'10", 6 foot, 160 pounds or something. Seemed like a skinny dude, right? Pants below his butt or whatever. And so she was like, oh, I'll show you. But this ain't a movie. This ain't a movie. And because it's not a movie, that shit doesn't work. In a movie, you could have, Angelina Jolie, who every time you see her, I mean, she's hot, but every time you see her, she looks skinnier and skinnier and skinnier, right? And you could have her be in Tomb Raider or some other action movie, taking on a bunch of bad guys with martial arts moves or guns or whatever, and pa-cha, 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 pa-cha. But if I saw Angelina Jolie, whatever she is, 5'6", 110 pounds or 100 pounds or 90 pounds or whatever she's doing these days, right? She couldn't take me on, let alone a dozen international super spies as an international super spy herself, or terrorists, or whatever the hell the movie is, right? It's garbage, right? But that type of encouragement, encouraging girls to get physical and violent, only leads to more trouble, right? And I'm not saying that girls should take it. Girls should be able to defend themselves. You still got fists, you still got some muscle, you still got some whatever. But for everybody, the best thing to do is try to avoid a fight. Professional martial artists will tell you the best thing to do is try and avoid a fight, right? I recall taking martial arts and karate a few years ago, and our sensei, a really great guy, he told us all a story of how he and a bunch of other black belts, top level martial artists in karate, in jiu-jitsu, in, the martial arts, were drinking at a bar, right? They were all just hanging out drinking at a bar, right? And, they noticed that some guy was yelling at his girlfriend in a corner of the bar. And he had her cornered, pinned against the wall, and he was like, blah, 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 blah. And she was like, blah, 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 right? And then at one point, he smacked her, right? And so one of the martial arts guys was like, all right, there's 10 of us martial artists here. I'm going to handle this, right? So he went over to the guy and his girl, and he went, hey, man, look, you can't do that. You can't just hit a girl. You can't hit a girl in front of us. I'm warning you, I'm trained, and I don't want to start anything. I just don't want you to do that to her, right? And again, 10 martial artists in the bar, one of them black belts, top level, relatively, maybe not UFC champions, but top level martial artists, and he goes over there and he confronts the guy, right? And our sensei is telling us this story, and so the guy sizes him up and goes, yeah, okay, so this guy seems like he means business and cool. So the guy was like, yeah, okay, whatever, man, and he backed off his girl a bit, and the martial artist relaxed a bit, thinking there was going to be no conflict. And the same guy that smacked his girl turned around and gave him a roundhouse kick, where you spin around and the back of your heel aims for another part of the guy's body who you're roundhouse kicking. So as he turned away, he turned his turn into a roundhouse kick and lifted up his leg and cracked the martial artist across the jaw. Just bang! Just broke his jaw, right? Just boom. 1 second. Everybody can get got, right? And so, and then our sensei says, yeah, we all stepped in, we stopped it, he got arrested, whatever. But our buddy had a broken jaw and was drinking food through a straw for the next 6 months until his jaw healed up. So it's best to avoid that. You should have some self-defense skills if it goes there, but it is best for everybody to avoid that, from top-level martial artists to girls who are top-level martial artists or girls who aren't, right? So anyway, I'll get back to this article, and then I'll have some more thoughts on how men can locally stop this. So it says here, after she got up and kept fighting with him, it says here in quotes, "No, step out, man, step out," a passenger told the man as the train came to a halt, right? So the passenger kind of spoke up a bit and said, "Step out, step out, step out." He then reached up and grabbed the woman by the hair and dragged her out the open door onto the concrete platform. Moments later, he kicked her in the stomach as she curled up on the ground. And the video shows all this, right? It says here, throughout the incident, no one on the train tried to stop the fight between the two adults, according to the New York Post. And the video shows that. Thursday evening, the Sergeants Benevolent Association, SBA, retweeted the video and criticized Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Democrat from New York, who we probably all know, for her aversion to hiring more Metropolitan Transportation Authority, MTA, officers to patrol the subways. And it says here, Congresswoman doesn't think the governor should add 500 more MTA police officers to make the subways safer. Watch and you decide as a woman is assaulted and thrown to the ground and kicked. This is a New York City subway. And there is a branch of the NYPD crapping on the fact that we need more cops out there, right? But frankly, as I've said, as I've advocated, as people understand, as people respect, after the cops, there's men. And then after men, there's all these little munchkins. There's women, children, you know how it is, right? But after the cops, it's men. And then after men, it's women and children, right? So even if they did have an additional 500 transportation officers there, if there weren't any around at that time, then it would be up to men locally there to stop this, right? Especially when it's between two strangers, and especially when it gets physical. So, and it's not just the individual hero. It's not like you individually turn into Steven Seagal or Jean-Claude Van Damme or John Wick or something, right? It's possible, if it goes there, then you got to do the best you can. But men can work together if they can work together when it comes to making sure the code of the streets is out there. The code of the streets is make sure we're cool, make sure people generally respect each other and communicate well, and then any ish pop off, then we move, right? It says here, quote, desperately needed resources would be better invested in subway, bus maintenance and service improvements, as well as protecting riders and transit workers from assault, rather than the over-policing of our communities, Ocasio-Cortez wrote in a December 17th letter to New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, Democrat, right? So she initially said, no, we don't just need more cops to harass more people. We need to put that money into improving the subway itself. We don't, because from her liberal Democrat perspective, more cops means more harassment of minorities and others, and that's not good, right? And there's an argument there, right? But again, it's not. Both sides have a point, but I think my point beats it, right? And I think you can, you can find a happy medium. where you say, you know what, we should possibly hire some more cops if there's going to be more crazy people doing crazy stuff. We should, shouldn't just over police everybody. We don't need a cop for everybody, keeping an eye on everybody and making the whole place quiet and uncomfortable. And we can have some money, some money going towards improving the subways too. No big deal, right? But again, there is the third option, which I'm advocating for here. So back to the article. However, the New York Police Department, NYPD, said it saw a recent increase in crime, CBS New York reported in November. Quote, according to NYPD numbers, there were 1,185 transit misdemeanor assaults citywide from January 1st until November 2017. That's 2019. In 2018, for the same period, there were 1,069. That's a 10.9% increase for the same time frame. So in a year, crime on the subway has increased when it comes to misdemeanor assaults by 10%, right? And it says here, even though some New Yorkers said they felt fairly safe riding the subway, others said they did not. Quote, it just feels there's a vibe down there that's not as nice as it used to be, subway rider Michael Towers commented, adding, quote, and I came here in the 70s, and I remember when it was really bad, and I think it's trending towards that now. And this is in New York City, this is in any big city, this is in especially liberal cities where there's less ladies and gentlemen, you're not supposed to be, and so this is the kind of crap people turn into. Crap that bothers people and crap that doesn't do anything about it. And there is a shot of the Michael Towers comment. So this guy's been around for 50 years. And he's saying, I came into New York when it was really bad, legendarily bad. New York used to be a crappy place before it was cleaned up, and now apparently it's turning into a crappy place again, right? So, so I'll put a link to this below, but I'll share to you what I told a Toronto Police Services police officer, right, about this sort of thing, right? So I am in this was maybe, got to be a couple of years ago, yeah, probably a couple of years ago, right? As things have been getting worse and worse here in Toronto, very, very close to New York. They're kind of like our big brother historically, though Toronto's kind of grown out of that thanks to Drake and the Raptors and other things, elevating Toronto's cultural status to the point where we don't feel like New York's little brother anymore. We are our own city, but we're similar in a lot of ways, right? So I'm at the Toronto Eaton Centre, the big mall that is downtown in the center of Toronto. And I've got my laptop, I've got my webcam, and I'm filming myself talking about what's happened to people, which is people are acting gender equal, gender neutral, not gender responsible. Masculine strength confirms the same, cool, feminine vulnerability, graceful, people empower each other, people don't act stupid, people don't get quiet and miserable because they don't act nice enough to talk and can't deal with what's going on in their own stupid head, and so on. That's gender equal, gender neutral, where everyone's a messed up girl instead of men making sure no one is, including themselves and girls, right? So I'm in the Toronto Eaton Centre, and I've got the last few years on video of this getting worse and worse in Toronto. And people know, everybody understands, I tried to make sure that millions of diverse people in Toronto, which proves it can work worldwide, understand what's going on, appreciate, my position on this. And so when it comes to civilians, patriots, politicians, media, police, security guards, military, intelligence services, they all know. They all know. I made sure they all know. They all know. Even if they slowly go along with it, getting more cucked up and, getting more sheepish and sideways and making each other uncomfortable and making it normal, they know, because I can get out there in the middle of it and I can have my webcam, I can have the people acting that way, I can have me commenting on it and filming it, and I can have them reacting like lying bitches begging to be broken who get off on acting stupid and being ignored instead of bitching back and forth and making each other uncomfortable and bothering other people. Right? So I've got all that established, right? Now, I hope they do more about it, but because of the cuckery and because of the fashionable, because you can't say anything to a miserable lying bitch or they'll bitch more, they feel guilty and embarrassed and argue and lie and keep trying to bother you and what are you talking about and all this garbage, right? And if it's not your old lady, if it's your old lady, you can say, hey, what's wrong, honey? Or, stop it, knock it off. You're embarrassing us in public. But if it's not your old lady acting like that, then it's hard to deal with. They don't make any sense. You can't make any sense of them. You can't really do much with them except act the same until you make each other uncomfortable, and then you wander around and bother other people, right? So it's kind of nothing, right? And I've had girlfriends do that before. If they're acting stupid for no reason, bark, yank, spank, or most importantly, time out. Not going there, not getting into it, don't deserve it, nothing to do with it. And she's happy. She's not in trouble. I'm not a mess. She was being stupid. No big deal. It's over. If I did screw up, then of course I might have to eat a bit of that bitchy, sketchy bullshit from my old lady, but not just from anybody else, right? So anyway, that gives you why I'm at the Eaton Center in downtown Toronto, a mall full of, 5,000 people or whatever, milling about. And I've got my laptop and my webcam, and I'm talking about various issues related to this and what's going on in the world relative to how people can't respect each other enough to communicate about it offline, only tweet to each other online and their own friends or Facebook or whatever. And then offline, even if they get all worked up as patriots or as people that care about what's going on and people where they live, they can't respect each other enough to communicate well about it, right? Or get more serious or act more like men and women and so on, because you're just more of a target for people that are turning into zombies, pretend sketchy girlfriend, anti-free speech zombies who look to attack anybody acting like that. So it's kind of like you got to be fashionably cucked up at work. How's it going? Oh, it's fine. It's okay. It's no big deal. How about you? Yeah, no, same. Me personally, I say, what's wrong? No, seriously. Something really bad happened? No? Then knock it off. Right? Especially to guys. Girls, sometimes you smile. That takes care of half of it. Then sometimes she trusts you. After you do that, she tells you, you fix it. Done. Right? Guys, it's garbage. Right? You're not just a mess near me while I'm impotent. I'm a man. I can at least hear it, possibly help. Right? So you can't just be a mess near me. Dude, what the hell's wrong with you? Right? And I've done this formally, different workplaces and so on, with the fashionable, how's it going? Oh, it's okay. How's it going? Oh, hey, did anything bad happen to you today? Somebody screw you? You screw up at work? No? So it was a good day? Then knock it off. Right? Anyway, so, time and place setting. I'm at the Eaton Center, downtown Toronto, laptop, webcam, sitting there, filming me, filming the crowd, people running by, acting sketchy, whatever, explaining it all, right? And ignoring people acting rude puts you in a good mood, right? Now, of course, you hope it doesn't happen, but if it does happen, ignoring it puts you in a good mood, right? For example, if a rude telemarketer calls you, right? Hey, rude telemarketer calling you, bothering you. I'm calling from the Prince of Nigeria. I want to take all your money. Please send me 5,000. I'll send you 5 million. Blah blah. Trying to hustle you, scam you, right? Hanging up, feel better, or said, hey, take me off your list, get a better job, never call me again, right? Boom, bang. Your girl might even be like, honey, what's wrong? You're like, nothing's wrong. I feel great. I feel fantastic. Somebody rude called. I acted like a man. Told him to piss off. That's why I was all whatever. That's why you're all turned on and concerned. And don't worry, I'm in a great mood. What do you want to eat tonight? Chinese, Indian, whatever. You choose, I'm buying. Good stuff, right? Because it puts you in a good mood. Ignoring people acting rude. Or ignoring poor sketchy people you're running around shaking near strangers, mentally ill, homeless, or whoever, right? You feel better, and oftentimes they feel better. They're shaking near people on the street, shaking near people on the subway, shaking, spazzing out in a coffee shop, trying to get warm or get some rest before they run around, spazzing out uncomfortably near people again. As long as you don't bother each other, it's the most respect you can show. So even to them, they didn't bother you. That's the best they could do. You didn't bother them. It's not so bad if you don't pay attention. It's the best you could do. Everybody happier, right? So, that sort of thing's going on. So I'm filming, and ignoring people that rude puts you in a good mood, and that can make you a little bit louder than you should be. And I'm inside a mall, sort of in the middle of the mall on the ground floor, and I'm sitting outside some benchish area, and I've got my little setup there, and explaining, showing what's going on, explaining it. It's all in 3D or in 1080p HD. Anyway, it's not literal 3D, but it's 3D stuff I'm filming, right? And so I'm talking about this and that, and I get into some sort of national security stuff or whatever, and a Toronto Police Services police officer comes over to me, right? And, he can size me up, and cops know when it comes to patriots, right? Cops know you're probably not a bad guy. Like, you're probably not a bad guy. You're probably not anti-cop to them. You're probably not going to do anything stupid. You probably don't have a record where you want to, stab them and run. So they know you're not a bad guy. When cops, have talked to me, right? Not really hassled me, but talked to me. They know. They don't roll up like, I came here, there's a problem. I don't want another one. They don't roll up tense. They roll up like, okay, buddy, you're a polite, patriotic Canadian. I can kind of tell you're trying to do the right thing for yourself, where you live, blah blah blah. I got to talk to you about something, right? And I'm like, okay, officer, man with a job, you got to talk to people about what's going on where you work. Fair enough, right? You got to do what you got to do. Fair enough, right? Whether it's me or whether every time there's some bad ones, don't get me wrong, but a lot of them are cool, right? And they don't want to get in trouble for being bad necessarily, right? Or when it comes to Tommy Robinson in the UK, in London, England, or in England, where Tommy Robinson is from, famous British activist, he's been arrested a bunch of times by the cops. And they show up, and he's there, he's got his camera, he's filming, or people are filming him, and say, okay, Tommy, we got to take you in. Oh, come on, guys, I'm just trying to film something here. What did I do wrong? Tommy, we've got you for a breach of the peace, you know how it is. Oh, come on, guys, I'm just live streaming. Okay, guys, make sure you post this. And they take his phone, and, he slowly take his phone, slowly put his hands behind his back, and slowly chuck him in the paddy wagon. Like, they know. They don't have to show up like, this guy's, going to be a problem that we got to fight with him, right? And other patriots like that. If you're a protester, a different sort of protester, not a journalist or an activist after a fashion or an artist or whatever, but if you're one of those crazy, yelling, screaming, bitch and scream, everybody hates you, nobody's interested in what you do, that type of thing, that's different. But if you're just a normal patriot, then they generally know you're cool, right? So the cop, shows up to me. The cop walks over to him, sees me filming, whatever, and everything's running, webcam's still going, my laptop battery lasts a couple hours, right? The cop comes over and says, hey, how's it going? And I was like, oh, good, officer, what's going on? He goes, oh, what are you up to? I'm like, oh, I'm just promoting polite patriotism, to help nice, polite Canadians respect each other and communicate well and teach kids to, when there's some slippage going on around here, And he goes, oh, okay, why are you doing that? Right? And this is just, the cop is just talking to me. He's just, man, I can respect, probably can respect me. That doesn't feel so bad. So let's figure out what's going on, right? And if he had to, he'd do his job and he'd arrest me or give me a citation or do something. It's no problem, right? Guy got a job to do. No big deal. Put on the cuffs, blah, 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 whatever. Been there, done that. No big deal, right? But he's just chatting with me. So he's like, how's it going? Good. What are you up to? Doing this. And then he says, oh, why are you doing that, right? And so I looked at him, and this was a white dude. He's a little bigger than me, maybe 6 foot, 190 or something. I'm 5'10", 165 or whatever. Just a big, coppish white dude, friendly guy, right? Middle of the mall. And he says to me, why? Like, what, why are you doing that? And I said, well, officer, have you heard what's happening in Europe in terms of the problems they're having with mass migration and so on? And he goes, yep. He didn't get into it. He's on the job. He's wearing the uniform. He's not going to go on and on and on about how he feels. But he indicated to me that he understood, what's going on when it comes to mass migration in Europe and the problems they're having there, right? And I said, okay, officer, great, right? He just looked me in the eye. We could read each other's body language. I understood. He understood on a deeper level than he was saying what I was talking about. I don't know if we knew the same things, but we knew some similar things since it's kind of a worldwide, it's known worldwide now what mass migration does to anybody. It's not even a racist thing. It's a universal principle. Nobody should. People in Peru shouldn't let in 10 million Japanese people, because that would screw up Peru. People in Japan shouldn't let in 10 million Peruvians. It's not because the Peruvians hate the Japanese. It's anybody. No country should protect their borders, their cultures, their sovereignty. Immigration should be limited and selective and organic. Like, if you have a house party of 100 people, you don't let in 50 strangers. You just let a couple of people bring a couple of friends of friends. You don't let it just be just a total chaos where a whole bunch of strangers come in and the vibe is all screwed up, right? So he said he understood, why, I had some concerns, right? So I was like, okay, great. You know what's going on in Europe. So I said, okay, officer, check this out. I read an article, and I explained this to him. We were having this conversation in the mall, in the Eaton Center in downtown Toronto, with 5,000 people swirling about. I said, hey, officer, I read an article from the Daily Mail UK about a German subway train where an African migrant who was new to Germany, right? He just got to Germany a couple of months ago. He wandered around a German subway train for 2 hours, and he molested 18 women for 2 hours walking around this German subway train. Just this guy from Africa. I look at porn on my phone, and I love white boobies, and I love white bum-bums. I walk around, I molest all the girls, I see how they are in the porn, I'm sure they love. He wandered around a German subway train molesting girls for 2 hours until he was finally caught, right? And so I explained this to the officer, and I said, and by the way, it's not a racist thing. You know, it could be a German guy who gets on an African subway train. He just got there like a couple of months ago, and he's like, I love black boobies, I love black bum bums. Yes, I'm a German guy. And all the black guys could have been all cucked up, sheepish, sideways, no national pride, no pride in their culture and their heritage and where they live, no sense of responsibility, sheepish, sideways, wipe my nose, look at my toes, wipe your nose, look at your toes, making each other uncomfortable, can't really respect and look at each other, communicate well, stare at your phone. It could have been the same if a big blonde white guy went to an African subway train and molested 18 black chicks, right? And in Germany, it might have been mostly white girls in Germany, I'm assuming, on this subway train, right? And the men there, just nothing for 2 hours, right? So I said to the officer, I said, officer, I would hate for that kind of crap to happen here in Toronto. And I said, you know, what would be ideal is, I said, officer, if you weren't dressed in uniform, if you were in civilian clothes, right? And you and I happened to get on a subway train in Toronto, right? And we could respect each other like men can respect each other. Politely acknowledge each other, mind our business, relax, think, keep an eye on things, and, you know, just understand our surroundings, knowing that we're cool with each other and knowing that we've established that we respected each other. That would be great. And then I told the officer, I said, if we saw something like this happening on a Toronto subway car, right, and we noticed it, we were like, that looks a little weird. That guy's sitting near that girl. I don't think he knows her. I think she's uncomfortable. You know, it seems like, you know, he's trying to harass her, be a little bit forward, a little bit weird. Not just normal male and female behavior where you're asking a girl out. You're trying to be shy and charming. She's saying yes or no. You're saying, yes, great, give me your number. You're saying, she says no. You say, hey, no problem. Hope you're flattered. If you got a fella already, hope you two are happy. Oh, no problem. It's fun to be asked. You know, it's fun to be thought of as attractive like that. You know, I've done this myself. Ask a girl, says yes, get the number, go out, says no, blah, 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 figure it out, what's going on. Maybe she's got somebody dating for a while. So no problem. Hey, I hope you're flattered. Oh, sure, no problem. Seemed like a nice guy. Big deal. Not that stuff, right? But just making her uncomfortable and being uncomfortable near her. I said, officer, if you and I were both in civilian clothing but we were both Canadian men who respected each other, then we might notice that because we could look up. We don't have to look down, be worried about what people are doing, people forcing each other, people acting sketchy, making each other uncomfortable, and so on, right? I said we would respect each other, and then I might look at you, you might look at me, we might say, do you see that? Yeah. Want to go over there? Sure. And then I said, you and I would walk over to where that guy was bothering that girl, right? And a couple of other guys, if it was normal to respect each other, would see us and go, all right, you going over there to take care of that? Yeah, I was thinking myself. You know, I just wasn't, you know, I didn't connect with somebody, or I was waiting or whatever. And then the two of us would have maybe 2, 3, 4 other guys join us. And then 3, 4, 5, 6 guys would go over to where this African guy, theoretically, or whoever, was bothering a nice Canadian girl of any color, background, whatever, and making any girl in the world, whatever, uncomfortable for no reason, strangers, right? Strange men bothering women is none of their business with men around, right? As long as there's men around, strange men bothering women is none of their goddamn business, right? So I said, officer, we just go over there, and we'd say, hey, man, you know, what's going on? Do you know this girl? No, I don't know this guy. I was just, what are you talking about? I say, look, man, I think you're bothering her. We all think you're bothering her. We can all clearly see you're bothering her. Where do you get off? Well, I get off at this subway station. Good. Get to the other side of the train and get the hell off at that stop, and we'll make sure you do. And young lady, it's none of your business. Sorry about this. You don't want to be bothered. We don't want to bother you. We don't want this to bother you. So we'll leave it at that. So she's just gonna smile and look down shy and hope all this goes away soon. Fine, whatever. Good, great. And so we would get that guy away from her. If it was really serious, we may have to physically intervene, or we may have to call for subway security or police or whatever to get him. But if it wasn't that serious, then we'd just make sure he got away from her, and then we'd make sure he got off the train, and we'd tell him, this is not what we do in Canada. We're polite Canadians. If you're going to live here, you're going to have to learn. You can't just come from somewhere else and screw around, right? If you ain't from here, you better get hip or better get out. And so I told the officer, this is a short version of this, but I said all this stuff basically. It was a little 5-minute conversation with him. And he, oh, so sorry about that. I didn't know. I'm new to Canada, but you know what? It would be nice if we lived in a country with nice, polite Canadian people. I will learn. No problem. So sorry, guys. All you Canadian men, this is what we do here. We don't do this sort of thing. We do this, then people don't like us, or we go to jail. No problem. So sorry. And he'd run away scared. Get off the train at a stop. Girls happy. We'd kind of scatter to different places, respect each other, cool, whatever, maybe friendly conversation or just mind your damn business, right? And that'd be that, right? And so the police officer, Toronto Police Services officer, said to me, okay, no problem. Now look, you're in a mall, there's lots of people around, so, just try and keep it down a bit, just keep in mind there's people here, families here, and don't get too loud when it comes to what you're doing. Don't say anything too crazy. And I said, no problem at all, officer. And if you have any questions, or if you have to do something with respect to what I'm doing, please let me know. I'm happy to oblige. You seem like a nice guy with a great job, and I don't, I want to make sure you can do it. And if I'm doing something wrong, I want to make sure that I stop or you help me stop. So no problem. He goes, all right, no problem. Have a good day. Good luck. I said, you too, officer. That was it. Right? So I bring all that up to give you a holistic view of what's going on relative to this incident, and I hope it helps. So anyway, there you have it. So feel free to like, comment, subscribe, share, get in touch with questions, answers, ways to work together, interview requests, financial support. All of that's very much needed. If this stuff kind of goes viral and gets hip and gets hot, you'll see all over the world this type of thinking, which people like. People, you could just be selfish and bitchy and uncomfortable with people and then distract yourself with video games or drugs or porn or whatever. That's possible. Or you could be happy with people. People could make each other happy and respect each other and communicate well. And you can still enjoy that stuff if you want. You just wouldn't necessarily be escaping to it, and it wouldn't be a vice, right? But yeah, so like, comment, subscribe, share, get in touch with whatever, and also you can use this video, you can repost this video, you can use clips from this video, in other videos. I wouldn't mind if you let me know, because it's kind of cool. If you don't want to, fine too. I don't want to bother anybody. Otherwise, check out manforwars.com for more. Otherwise, yeah, that's about it. Black Krishna or BK from manforwars.com. Hope this helps, and I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.